It's been 45 years of terror for Laurie Strode, but now it's time for it all to come to an end. Let's jump into my review of the final chapter of Halloween. In this film, Halloween Ends. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing Halloween Ends, coming to theaters October 14th. I just got back from New York Comic Con. I did get to check out the Laurie Strode, sort of the tribute to Jamie Lee Curtis as she reflects back on the character Laurie Strode after 45 years of being this character, to the point that like she is this character. And it was such an emotional panel. She gave so much thanks to the audience. We gave so much thanks to her. And it was just really, if it's online, it's something you want to sort out your way to check out Jamie Lee Curtis's panel with Drew Barrymore from New York Comic Con. I also got a cool poster from it as well too. They also had some face masks that was there. I did not get one of them, but you might see some of those floating around. But yeah, now all roads lead to the film Halloween Ends, again coming to theater October 14th. Now this film takes place 4 years after Halloween Kills. So, you know, in the middle of this trilogy, a film that wasn't really good, I had a lot of problems with Halloween Kills. I was more or so interested not about how they were going to end this franchise or this trilogy, but how they were going to recover from that middle film, because it just was not good to me. But this one did a fantastic job in telling a good story, so many callbacks and so many Easter eggs and a few cameos as well too, and just the arc of these characters. And when it comes down to Michael Myers and Laurie Strode, you know, a lot of people think it's human versus human, but I have said this numerous times to a point I'm not going to say it no more, is that this was always good versus evil from a supernatural standpoint. They feed off of each other, they crave from each other, and when one desires the other, it's like a kinetic energy that pulls them to each other. But something very other important about the element of this good versus evil is the transfer of energy. If you listen to the last moments of Halloween Kills, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about here. So yeah, now we're 4 years later, and Laurie has kind of moved on with life. You know, her and Allison living together, they bought a house. Laurie has gotten therapy, so she's doing a lot better. She's writing sort of a memoir of everything that she's been through and reflecting back on her times. And actually, I would love to kind of read that in its own, because it's really telling, and it is talking about the entire journey for 45 years of this whole being haunted by Michael Myers, haunting him, trying to save him, you know, trying to find forgiveness. There's a lot that was in the script that she was writing about her time in Haddonfield, when it was her versus Michael Myers. But this film introduces another character, and in this other character here, it really changes everything. And it changes everything because, again, it does go back to everything that, you know, Laurie said at the end of Halloween Kills, in terms of, hey, listen, evil can transfer. And when evil can transfer, that means that anybody can inherit this sort of negative energy, and thus Michael could technically live forever. And we see this in this character, Corey Cunningham, played by Rohan Campbell, who comes in and is a kid who had a very let's just say he got himself caught in a very bad circumstance, and he gets a second chance, but then other things led to the next, and like all of Haddonfield turns against this guy. I mean, he's accused of a murder that he actually was not actually, it wasn't actually him that did it. So he gets acquitted of a murder, but the whole town turns against him. And that's because with Michael Myers being gone, everybody's looking for somebody to blame, you know? And they haven't seen Michael Myers in 4 years, so now everybody is looking for any reason to point or blame anybody for anything that's happening, because there still is an evil presence over Haddonfield. Like, folks are doing all sorts of different just a bunch of different things that are happening, from murders, from just all sorts of horrendous things, like left and right. There are things happening that people are saying, this is Michael Myers, so they're looking for blame. And this is another circumstance of where Corey Cunningham sort of gets into a situation where now everybody's blaming him and they turn it back against him. So a couple of things too. Now, one thing I want to say, that there's a party scene with a lot of flashing lights. Anybody who may have a little sensitivity to that was a lot. It really gave me a headache pretty early in this scene. I just wanted to make sure I mention that. With everything kind of happening as well too, this is a horror film. There's a little bit of comedy, as you would expect. I think when you talk about Jamie Lee Curtis's performance as Laurie Strode, at this point now, the character is really blurred into her personal life. She said a lot about that at the panel, and you see a lot of Jamie Lee Curtis inside of this character in this film. Like, you can tell that, like, they said they just gave her like a blank page and said, hey, what would Laurie say? And you could see a lot of delivery in terms of how Jamie is. Like, things Jamie was saying at the panel, I'm pretty sure they were verbatim said in the film as well too. And that was not by design. I think it's just how natural she is, how this character is her. And so thus, her being the character, she just goes in there and do what she has to do. And I think that, like, seeing a new side of Haddonfield, seeing the evil within Haddonfield, seeing how people turn against others, seeing how folks still blame Laurie for everything, and then the obvious other question is, where is Michael Myers? And we get to look into his lair, where he's kind of hiding out at, and the low light shots in that is super dope. And I think that, like, understanding more about who he is, not just as a human, but as a supernatural being. And they make it very clear, very evident, if you ever thought he was just human, that he's not. So learning and seeing about his abilities, what I thought was really, really cool about that. Again, they make this so obvious that it's supernatural, but so is she. So is she. And it's good versus evil, and they get stronger the more and more they kind of connect with one another. You know, it's that magnetic energy between the two of them. And I think too, like, this film definitely was not just an end of the Halloween franchise, but it was the origin story for the next chapter, because you have Corey Cunningham, you have Laurie Strode, and then we're kind of leaving behind Michael Myers and Laurie Strode. So, that's, I thought, was very smart, that there clearly can be more story to be told going forward. But beyond that, they have all of the classic shots, that window shot with somebody hiding behind the bush. They got that kind of going on here. And it just feels like a passing of the torch as much as it is passing of the energy. And I think that, like, at the core of this, it also is like a very twisted love story. I'm not going to say who, but it definitely is like a very kind of twisted love story. But yeah, so many callbacks, original outfits or nods to original outfits, gestures, the little popping up like Michael Myers do, all that sorts of stuff. And some of the classic camera shots, some of the classic kills. I mean, so many references to the original films that, like, you're going to know. If you've been watching this franchise since day one, you're going to see, like, oh, I know where that came from. I remember that, from the first Michael Myers to other little things, from the first Halloween, but so many other little things you're going to know about. And man, there's some jaw-dropping gore and kills you're just not going to be ready for. But I think, again, to Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, she just really is Laurie Strode. And so this performance of her had to be a walk in the park for her. Beyond it being emotional, beyond this potential to being the last time she ever is Laurie Strode, you can just tell just how much this character means to her and how much this character is her. So you do see a lot of things that is just like, oh, she killed that line because that's just what she would say. That's what she would do. You see her mannerisms and all that really come into play because it's just who Jamie Lee Curtis is. But with all this talking I'm doing now, I got to say that the final showdown that we all are waiting for, good versus evil, was was worth every bit of the wait. It was crazy good. And I also think that this story had a very poetic ending. And it told a really good story. To everything that we've been through for the 45 years, I thought it told like a very, very good story. And again, maybe this is the end of the franchise, but maybe it isn't. But I totally can see things going forward. There definitely is potential with things going forward by the means of how good versus evil work, by some of the different things that happen with some of the characters, from obviously the very, very end of what happens. You know, maybe we leave Haddonfield and leave Laurie intact, but it doesn't mean we can't go somewhere else where somebody embodies the pure evil of Michael Myers, and somebody embodies the pure good in Laurie Strode, and we have that battle of Final Girl versus the big bad Shape. You know, I would love to see it. So, you know, a part of me is emotional, but another part of me is a little bit hopeful, because I know that there's going to be more. I mean, this franchise has made so much more money. People have been so loyal to this, and I think at some point now we want to see what happens next. So let's let it marinate for a little bit, but I definitely would love to see what happens next. So overall, Halloween Ends was fantastic. The best of the trilogy, easily better than the second one by like light years. But this was definitely, in terms of 45 years of Michael Myers versus Laurie Strode, this was a very fitting ending, and we'll see what happens next. So, hey, check it out. October 14th, Halloween Ends. Had a really good time with this. And I just want to say, because I didn't mention some of the other characters, from the cameos, from the supporting characters to our main characters, everybody really had a part of just making this film work. If it wasn't for the comedy, if it wasn't for the suspense, if it wasn't for the drama, I think that every character brought something that really, really made this film work. And I thought that Rohan, Campbell, who plays Corey, this really new character that just takes us on a ride, you know, carries the film when we don't have Allison, when we don't have Laurie, and we're invested into like, what's this character's arc, you know, and as he really displays how Haddonfield turned on him, you start to wonder, like, who's actually good, who's actually evil in terms of this whole town. And then it puts a lot into question, but nonetheless, it's a very interesting added element that by the end of this film, you're not going to see what's to come. So, hey, check it out. Jump in the comments when you check it out. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.